about a river. As it flows along, the water doesn't slam into rocks and think, why are you punishing me? What did I do wrong? It doesn't feel guilty for having obstacles in its way. The rocks are just part of the river's path. And the water doesn't fight them. It moves with wisdom around them. Well, challenges aren't God picking on you and me, even though it sometimes feels like, well, wait a minute, aren't I doing everything right? Why am I going through this? But if we can say, no, challenges are just life. It's not a sign of any kind that I'm failing spiritually or physically or anything like that. They're just a part of being human. Then we can start saying, okay, how do I use these challenges to help me grow my faith, to be more real in my understanding of what it is to really connect with God in everyday life, right? And when things feel rough for me, what I come back to are 3 simple statements. I accept, I am willing, and I trust. I accept. When you say I accept, you're seeing what's real. You are not saying, I really wish it wasn't like this. You're saying this is how it is. I accept what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling right now. I accept the experience I'm in, even though it sucks. I accept this is where I am for now. You don't have to like it. You're just being honest. And as you're honest, you realize that if you didn't accept that, if you didn't just accept the fullness of this is my inner reality, this is my outer reality, you would be fighting the current all the time. You'd be hitting every rock harder if you're thinking of it in terms of you are supposed to be floating along in your boat with God on this river of life, and instead of accepting, you are fighting. Instead of being able to flow and say, whoop, there's a rock, and let's see how we can quickly and easily move around it, right? It doesn't mean that you might not bump into it, but it doesn't mean you have to crash into it either. Resistance will definitely make you crash. Flow and acceptance will help you to say, okay, now what? And the now what part comes when you say, I am willing. When you say I am willing, you're opening your heart. And as a mind, heart, and spirit being, it's mind and heart that we control. So when we choose mentally and emotionally to say, I'm willing, God, to be here in this experience, I don't like this challenge, but I'm opening the door and I'm opening my heart, then therefore, in the mind, heart, spirit circuit, God's like, okay, let's do this together. So you're saying, God, I'm willing to grow here. I'm willing to see what this is showing me. I'm willing to let you inform my thoughts, my emotions, and my next steps. Because that's all you're trying to see is just, where am I going next? A little bit at a time in the steps of trying to work through your challenges. You're not blaming, you're not shaming, you're not making excuses. You're simply opening the door and saying, I'm in this with you. Teach me. And having that teachable heart means everything. That's really what a leap of faith often looks like. It's just your quiet willingness, even in unfair and uncomfortable moments. And then you have I trust. When you say I trust, you're really walking your talk, aren't you? You're saying, I trust that what I believe about your love, God, about your goodness, and who I'm becoming, it still applies. It applies here, even in this mess. Because when you're facing a challenge, that's all it feels like is a mess, right? But it's not just in my good seasons. I trust that you are here right now, and that I am going to find what it looks like to lean into that trust. Trust doesn't have to mean you're calm yet. It just means that you keep choosing to move with God, one small honest step at a time. That's what flowing with God can look like in real life, right? You're not pretending that rocks aren't there if you're flowing along the river of life. You're not calling the rapids fun. You're just refusing to make them mean. You're refusing to buy into the emotional lie that says, God must be mad at me. I'm failing in some way, So I want to encourage you to pick one situation that's really bothering you right now and try these 3 things. Start with saying, I accept. And finish that sentence honestly. I accept where I am. I accept what I'm dealing with. I accept how I feel about it. Accept. And then number 2, say, I am willing. And then name how you're willing to grow, how you're willing to show up, how you're willing for God to settle you. And then 3rd, I trust. And when you say that, you're bringing straight to God this idea that whatever you choose to believe about God and about who you're becoming, you're trusting that that's happening right in the middle of your challenging experience. And as you do this, you see that hard times don't mean God has abandoned you. They don't mean you're failing. They're just places where you and God can learn to move together differently, with more depth, with more true engagement, just like a river is finding its way through the landscape and always feeling its way through. You and I, we're already in the river, it's now we're just learning how to flow. And I've got one more video in this Divine Guidance series where we're going to keep building on this flow. So if you're not already subscribed, definitely join our community so you don't miss out and you can continue on the journey with us. And if you do try this, I accept, I am willing, and I trust. I hope you'll feel comfortable enough to share with us in the comments, as you share about what it's bringing up for you, we can normalize this kind of honest, growing with God kind of dialogue. So I will see you in the final episode. You take care.